How do you speak to God? Listen to the voice you use. The next time you pray, or hope, or turn quietly inward, listen to its posture. Is it the voice of someone small, asking to be noticed? Someone flawed, asking to be forgiven? Someone weak, hoping to be rescued? Someone standing far off, hoping that something greater might lean down and help? Most of us were taught to approach the spiritual life in exactly this posture: small, pleading, unworthy, a sinner, hat in hand, hoping for mercy. Swami Vivekananda spent his short and blazing life trying to tell humanity that this entire posture is a mistake, not a sin, not a moral failure, a mistake, a case of mistaken identity. You have been praying like a weak being because you believe you are one. And Vivekananda's whole message was that you have never, for one moment, been weak at all. Today we will explore this teaching fully. We will be careful because it is easily misunderstood. But by the end, something in how you see yourself and how you reach toward the divine may permanently change. Let's begin with the man and the message he gave his life to. Swami Vivekananda lived in 19th century India, and he did not live long. He died at 39, but into that short life he packed a force that still has not faded. He was the foremost disciple of the great mystic Ramakrishna. He carried the timeless teachings of Vedanta out of India to the wider world, and everywhere he went, into every hall he spoke in, he brought one message again and again, like a hammer on a bell. You are not weak. You are not a worm. You are not a born sinner. Each soul, he said, is already divine. The goal of all religion, all practice, all meditation is not to become something holy that you currently are not. It is to manifest the divinity that is already, fully within you. Hear that carefully, because everything depends on it. He did not say you can earn divinity. He did not say you can be granted it if you beg well enough. He said it is already there, already complete, already your very nature. The whole path is the work of uncovering it. And the single greatest obstacle to that uncovering, Vivekananda taught, is the belief in your own smallness. The conviction, drilled in early and deep, that you are essentially weak, essentially flawed, a lowly thing hoping for rescue. He called weakness the real evil. He said anything that makes you weak, in body, in mind, in spirit, should be rejected like poison. Because every time you affirm your own smallness, you press the divinity further down and bury it deeper. But here we must be very careful, because this teaching is so easily twisted. When Vivekananda said you are divine, he did not mean your ego is wonderful. He did not mean the small, anxious, grasping I, the one that craves praise, that fears, that compares itself to everyone. He did not mean that one is God. He meant the opposite. The divine self he pointed to lies beneath the ego. It is what remains when the small, frightened self goes quiet. Your ego is not your greatness. Your ego is part of the disguise. So this is not a teaching that inflates you. It is a teaching that points underneath you to something steadier, vaster, and far more real than the personality you have spent your life defending. Keep that distinction close. We will need it the whole way through. Now, to truly receive Vivekananda's message, you have to see the beliefs that block it. Most of us carry several. They were taught early, by religion, by family, by culture, and they run so deep we mistake them for humility or for plain truth. Vivekananda challenged each one. The first belief is that you are a sinner by nature. This is the conviction that you arrived flawed, that at the very root of you there is something wrong, something stained, and that the spiritual life is mostly the long work of apologizing for it. Vivekananda's response was almost fierce. He said it is itself a sin to call a human being a sinner, that it is a standing slander against human nature. Your true self, the Atman, was never born and cannot be stained. It is ever pure. The mistakes you have made belong to the body and the mind, to the surface. They are real enough there, and you can learn from them, but they never touched what you most deeply are. You were not born wrong. You were born divine, wearing a disguise of forgetfulness. The second belief is that to approach God, you must approach as a beggar. This is the posture and the voice we listened to at the start, empty-handed, pleading, hoping that if you ask humbly enough, something greater might notice you. Now, Vivekananda was not against prayer. He was himself a man of deep devotion, the disciple of a great devotee. He never asked anyone to stop praying or to stop loving God. What he challenged was only the posture of the beggar. Because you are not a beggar at the gate. You are a child of the infinite. Something of the divine is already what you are, looking for itself. The prayer of weakness says, I am nothing, throw me a scrap. The prayer of strength says, I am yours, and you are mine, and I am turning now to remember it. You may still pray, you may still kneel, but you can do it as a child of God, not as a worm before a tyrant. The third belief is that humility means thinking little of yourself. This one is subtle because humility is genuinely a virtue, and Vivekananda never denied that. But somewhere, humility got confused with self-contempt. We were taught that to be holy is to think of ourselves as low, small, nothing. But thinking little of yourself is not humility. It is just another way of being obsessed with yourself, only in the negative. The truly humble person is not absorbed in how small they are. They have simply stopped measuring the small self at all, because their attention has turned toward the infinite. Real humility is not, I am nothing. Real humility is, I do not yet know the vastness of what I am. One is contempt, the other is wonder. Vivekananda asked for the wonder. The fourth belief is that weakness itself is holy. This is the deepest one. Somewhere we absorb the idea that to be meek, fragile, self-effacing, endlessly apologetic, that this is spiritual, that strength is a little suspect, a little worldly, and that the truly spiritual soul is soft and bowed. Vivekananda rejected this with everything he had. Strength, he said, is life. Weakness is death. Weakness of body, of mind, of spirit is the soil in which fear and cruelty and misery actually grow. A frightened, weak person is not closer to God. They are simply frightened. The goal is not to become small enough to slip into heaven. It is to become strong enough to know what you already are, and that strength is not the ego's noise. It is the quiet, unshakable strength of someone who has remembered their own divine ground. So if the posture of weakness is a mistake, how do you stand differently? Vivekananda's life points to 3 works. The first work is to reject what weakens you. Vivekananda gave a startlingly practical instruction. Anything that makes you weak, physically, intellectually, spiritually, reject it as poison. This makes you responsible for what you take in, the thoughts you rehearse, the words you say about yourself, the voices and the company that quietly repeat to you that you are small, that you cannot, that you are not enough. Begin to notice them. Every I am weak, every I am broken, every I always fail, said out of habit, is a small act of burying the divinity deeper. You do not have to fight these thoughts violently. You only have to stop feeding them and stop believing they are the truth. The second work is to affirm your true nature. If you have spent years telling yourself you are small, the counterforce is not silence. It is a new affirmation, repeated until it sinks beneath the surface. Vivekananda taught this directly. He told people to assert their real nature, to say again and again, I am the self, ever pure, ever free, ever strong. Not as a lie you are inflating, but as a truth you are working to remember. And here is the key distinction. You are not affirming the ego, I am special, I am better than others. You are affirming the ground beneath the ego. I am not this small, frightened thing. I am the deathless self that was never small at all. One feeds the disguise. The other dissolves it. The third work is to stand on your own strength. Vivekananda's call was famous and urgent. Arise, awake, be strong, stand on your own feet. He taught that endlessly waiting to be rescued by a savior, a teacher, some force outside you, is itself a way of staying weak. Not because help does not exist, but because the divinity you are waiting for is not approaching from outside. It is the very thing waiting, patiently, within. To stand on your own strength is to take responsibility for your own awakening, to stop postponing your life until you are saved, and to begin acting now from the strength of what you already are. Here is a practice drawn from the spirit of Vivekananda's teaching. It is an affirmation practice, and the way you do it is everything. Sit quietly, spine straight, take a few slow breaths, and let the mind settle. First, for a moment, notice the old voice. The familiar, automatic sense of being small, flawed, weak, not enough. Do not fight it, just see it clearly and recognize it for what it is. A habit, an old, repeated belief, not a fact about your nature. Then, slowly and inwardly, begin to affirm the truth Vivekananda pointed to. Use simple words. I am not this weakness. Beneath it, I am the self, ever pure, ever free, untouched and unafraid. Say it slowly. Do not shout it. Do not strain to feel powerful. This is not the ego flexing. It is quieter than that. The calm recognition of something that was always true. You are not building strength. You are remembering it. If resistance rises, a voice that says, "Who do you think you are?" Notice that too. That voice is the disguise, protecting itself. Let it speak and return gently to the affirmation. Do this for a few minutes each day. Over time, the inner posture begins to change, not into arrogance, into steadiness. You begin to meet your life standing up. Vivekananda left one teaching beneath all the others. Your divinity is not something you will construct. It is not a reward at the end of the path, handed to whoever begged most sincerely. It is already the case, right now, fully, even while you doubt it. Think of the sun behind clouds. The sun does not need to be created or earned or pleaded for. It is already fully shining. The clouds only hide it. And the belief in your own smallness, the sinner, the beggar, the weakling, that is the cloud, thick, old, and convincing, but only a cloud. You do not have to manufacture the sun. You have to stop identifying with the clouds. And notice, this is not arrogance. The real arrogance, Vivekananda would say, is to declare yourself a worthless and weak thing while having never once seriously looked at what you actually are. To stand before the infinite mystery of your own being and announce that you already know it to be small. That is the arrogance. Humility is to stop announcing and to look. When you look, truly, patiently, you do not find a sinner. You do not find a beggar. You find the very thing all your prayers were reaching toward. And you find that it was never far away, never withholding, and never anywhere but here. You are not weak. You never were. Stop praying like you are and start remembering what you have always been. If this teaching reached something in you, subscribe and turn on notifications. This channel follows the lineage of the inner path, the masters of meditation, and the corrections they left for those who came after. Share this with someone who has spent years feeling small, flawed, not enough. Someone who carries that weight even into their spiritual life. They may simply have believed a cloud and never been shown the sun. And leave a comment. What is one "I am weak" that you have repeated about yourself for years? Name it. And then, beside it, name the truth. Naming it is where the strength begins. See you in the next one.